This morning, I feel blessed. Dr. Bill Clark was here about a month ago, and I know he's getting ready to move to Mexico soon, so we wanted to have him speak before he left. So we feel so privileged. He's a doctor of chemistry, and he teaches chemistry in college right now. But, you know, when I was speaking to him this morning, I said, what's more than that? And he said, more than that really doesn't define me. What I am is a spiritual seeker. And I've been on a journey my whole lifetime seeking. You know, and I said, you know, what's your purpose? He said, my purpose is to bring healing into the world. And I think, boy, that's what all of our purpose should really be. I thought that was so beautiful. And he studied many spiritual teachings through the years, deep study of many spiritual teachings. And so this morning he's just going to be here. And I think having that chemistry background, we're going to get a little bit more, you know, information from the scientific world, which I love, like Greg Braden. Yeah. So we love that. I love it when we see science back up spirituality, and what we're kind of ahead of them, but they're really kind of telling us about this invisible realm that is more real than what we see with our eyes, that we only see like 2% of what's going on around us right now in this moment, what's going on in this room. We're not really having those eyes or those ears in some instances to see that, but I think that veil is getting you know, dissolving and getting thinner and thinner, so we really are contacting. So I just want to welcome Dr. Bill Clark up here to the podium this morning. So we just welcome him.
And I think I'm, oh, I'm on.
You are.
I'm illuminated in the sound sense, which is actually what I want to talk about today, spiritual illumination. And the it's just, you know, you kind of go through these phases in your life where you kind of take a moment when your meditation maybe, and you look back on kind of your journey of where you've been and where you're going, and you put a flag in the path there, you know, of where you're at. And one of the things that a lot of times you see, have you ever gone back and read something that you'd read some time ago, and you go read it again and it has a completely new meaning to it?
Yes.
Well, that was the case with me. I'm rereading The Infinite Way by Joel Goldsmith. And I was studying spiritual illumination is kind of what I was sitting with. And what does that really mean? So for me, or what Joel Goldsmith says, and I'll quote this, he says, spiritual illumination enables us to discern the spiritual reality where the human concept appears to be. Spiritual sense discerns the reality of which is appearing as concept. The development of spiritual consciousness begins with our first realization that what we are beholding through the senses of sight, hearing, taste, and touch, and smell is not the reality of things. So true. Disregarding appearances entirely, the first ray of spiritual illumination brings us hints of the divine, the eternal, the immortal. That is so true. I mean, we live through our whole life of those five senses, but there's really a sixth sense, if you want to call it that, you know, or whatever you want to call it. There's another sense of the spiritual reality of things. And I think in my contemplation, I'm looking back and I'm thinking, hey, you know what, I've been a seeker of that my whole life. And what is it we're actually seeking? It's a seeking of spiritual truth. And that truth is the awakening of our higher consciousness, that which is within us already. It's not like something outside of us we have to find, right? We think that as we go through our rudimentary, you know, kindergarten steps when we start to wake up to the truth of who we are. But I can remember some 50 years ago, I mean, yeah, I'm a little bit older than I thought. That's the advantages of spiritual illumination. You are immortal. But I remember boys in the neighborhood. We lived in upstate New York, so it was all these like super tall pine trees. I mean, we're talking way above the houses, and so massive that one as big as this circle here. Let's talk about circles. is this big circle right here up to those chairs, no, even bigger than that, which was underneath the pine tree, which is our little fort and play area we used to do. That's how big those trees were. But we decided one day we were going to climb some of those trees. Has anybody ever climbed a pine tree before? Yeah. Lots of branches when you get near the top where you can hardly move through it, even as a little boy. And of course, sap. Your hands are covered in sap. It's in all the branches and everything like that, which is actually a good thing. It gives you something to hold. It's sticky to hold on to. But I can still remember like it was yesterday of climbing to the top of this really tall tree. We were all daring each other to climb to the top of this big tree. Well, I was the only one that did it. The other boys started up. I wasn't the first to go, but others went. And they got about halfway up or whatever, then they came back down. I said, I'm not going up there. So I wanted to see what was at the top. So I did. I forced my way through the top of those branches to the point where I was at the very top where I could see above everything. I still remember like it was yesterday. So that sixth sense that we're talking about, it's an experiential thing. You can't put it into words for anyone. You have to experience for yourself. And as I broke the surface and looked above that, I couldn't even hear anyone down below. It was just the wind. And then suddenly feeling the whole tree going. It was kind of cool. It was like being in the arms of God. It really was. It was experiential. I mean, it was miraculous. And you could see forever. And I still feel that and remember it exactly as it happened, even though it was probably 50 years ago. I don't know. It's a long time. But it seemed like yesterday. I'm sure you can equate to experiences in your own life where you've had those sorts of experiences. Now, since then, I always knew it from that time as well that things were going to unfold for me in my life in a way that I didn't know the word spiritual truth or awakening or consciousness. I didn't know any of these words for most of my life. My grandfather was an Episcopal minister, so I'm sure there was some influence from that. I still remember him speaking when I was a young little boy. And but we all have our own journeys that we're on, that we're going through, our own journeys to spiritual truth. In fact, that was a radio show that I did online with somebody some years ago that we had. It was called Journey to Spiritual Truth. And again, even when I was doing that at the time, it wasn't really clear. It was more of a journey for me to explore spiritual truth as well. So Joel Goldsmith says, spiritual illumination comes to us in a measure with our first investigation of truth. So that's what it is. When we start to investigate truth, that there's something more than these five senses that we're used to on our everyday experience. We believe that we are seeking good or truth, whereas the light has begun to shine in our consciousness, compelling us to take the steps we have since taken. Right? Have you ever felt that, where you're being compelled to take the next steps on your journey, wherever that may lead? You fought it sometimes, maybe many times. But truly awakening to that essence of who you are is totally letting go of questioning any of that and letting it guide you wherever you're supposed to on your journey. Every increase of our spiritual understanding was more light appearing and dispelling the darkness of sense, those five senses. This inflow of illumination will continue until we come to the full realization of our true identity as, quote, the light of the world. Like I said, it's not outside of you. It's what's already within you. It's like you just have to learn, you just need to find the light switch to turn it on. It is that instantaneously that you turn on a light switch and suddenly that realm is open to you. Without illumination, we struggle with the forces of the world. We labor for a living. We struggle to maintain our place and position. We compete for riches or honors. Often we war with our own friends, even find ourselves at war with ourselves. There is no security in personal possessions, even after the battle to acquire them is won. So that journey to spiritual truth is an awakening on your path. Now, since then, I can recount numerous experiences through my whole life of things that led me where I am today. And some very profound that were life-changing. I'm sure you can equate to that as well. And as you're opening up to that realm of this truth of who you are, that this essence of, that it's all energy as a scientist, for me it's all energy. All you're doing is opening the flow, like an electrical current, like turning a switch. That's a simple and physical analysis of that, of this experiential, that you can never put to words. You can never put it to words. So he goes on to say, when consciousness is a fire with truth and love, it destroys all sense of fear, doubt, hate, envy, disease, and discord. And this pure consciousness is felt by all whom we meet. And it lightens the load we carry. It is impossible to be the light of the world. It's impossible to be the light of the world and not dispel the darkness of those about us. Right? It's impossible. When you turn on the light, someone's a light that's coming, you can't turn it off. You don't have the switch. It's impossible for that to not dispel the darkness within you. And we all are that to each other. We are all that connected, the circle you spoke of, Paul. The illumined walk without fear by grace. In 2000, I had an experience in August of 2000 that up to that point I'd been reading Wayne Dyer and I'd been exploring whatever I was at that point, learning how to meditate. I could even sit down and meditate. In fact, the only thing that I was able to got me to meditate was Wayne Dyer's Getting in the Gap, which was a guided meditation. That was the only thing that worked for me to get started. But that did amazing things. It's baby steps. This journey goes your whole life. Thank you. Oh, sweetheart. And so anyway, I had this experience in 2000. I won't go into a lot of detail about that for essence of time. You'll have to read the book when it comes out. But
there's a shelf on there. Yeah, there's a shelf by the candle.
Oh, good. There we go. They want to let go of that. So it was the middle of the night, like 1 a.m, whatever, and I had been doing a lot of meditation. Well, when you start to do that and start to open, you're kind of like you're opening the hose up a little bit to let a bit of the water out, So, remember what I talked about, the light switch? Oh my gosh. Was that the light switch that night? Because it literally was like someone turned on a light. And the experience I had was, at that time in August of 2000, you can go look this up, the Russian submarine Kursk sunk in the Bering Sea. You may remember that. That's a long time ago now. But what happened to me is that I was visited by the spirit of all those sailors that perished. And see, I can still feel that today. And I didn't know what was going on. It was terrifying. Fortunately, a friend of ours in the UK, we were on the phone with her. She guided me through my experience or whatever. She was a medium or whatever. I mean, psychic medium, whatever you want to call that. It's really an opening to another realm. And of course, everything changed dramatically for me after that. The experiences that I had are too numerous to count. But I know that it's because I was already seeking that, which was already within me to connect with that realm, the spirit, it's all energy. I understand this as a scientist. And it's just blossomed and grown from there. And it's taken me a long time to go through the path of really truly letting go, to really embrace that path. You have to be willing to embrace the journey to spiritual truth. You have to ask yourself, are you really willing to do that? You may think you are, some of you may think you are actually doing that, but you're not really doing that. I know, because I experienced that. I mean, you may think that you're actually doing that until something happens that changes everything. It could be a different experience for you. So, it's only when we fully embrace ourselves, it's having a faith, it's a belief, it's an understanding, and it is experiential, many times can't be explained. But yet you know within the essence of your being that this is where you need to go. I mean, everything that I have done, Miles and I were just talking about this before service here, we're just talking about, you know, where I'm getting ready to go to Mexico. I mean, it's really Mexico. And he goes, why are you going there? You know, when I actually look at where it is, and like, I never would have imagined I'd ever be moving there. I could never gather the understanding to make any sense of that. How does that happen? And, you know, again, there's been numerous things that have happened. If you look at your life and reflect back on your journey, you'll look back and see that you can trace it all the way back to that, and then it can go to your parents, and then before that led to where you are today. Right? So, you don't have to figure it out. That's the key. We always want to figure it out. We always want to know. Okay, why? You know, Danelle's 3-year-old granddaughter, we had this little game, we're sitting on the couch, and she comes up, starts leaning on me and pushing me and going, why? And what she wants me to do is wrestle with her and push her down on the couch, because I'd say, why can't you get up? And so she says, why? You know, kids have 3 things, like, are we there yet? Why? You know, what was the third thing? What's that?
How come?
How come? Yeah. We haven't got that one yet, but we got why and are we there yet? So, see, we learn from a very young age why. Well, we want to know why. And I just say, I don't know. And she'd say, why? And I say, I don't know. It really messes with a 3-year-old's head. Because when I was a parent with my kids when they were 3, you know, that's not how I reacted to that. I get annoyed, right? You go, well, stop asking me why. You know? We don't have to figure it out. So, let me close with this. I want to share with you one of my poems. Okay? Because I can't really, I mean, I can tell you all my experiences, whatever, which will be meaningless to you. It's only in your own path that you find meaning in the experiences you have, right? So, I wrote a poem that is titled Feeling the Presence. And I wrote it, when did I write that? Several years ago. But it was about this, it was an experiential thing of feeling the presence. Okay? It is feeling that and opening up to it. It's this presence that's not necessarily outside of you. It's opening up what's within you to connect with all that is. And I mean, when you look up at the stars, when you look at the trees blow, when you feel the wind like that young boy climbing the tree, all of that is experiential, right? So, let me read this one for you. You might want to close your eyes and kind of feel this. Before I start, the little background on this. At this time, I was at a time in my life when I was actually homeless. I was living in a tent. Someone was kind enough to let me pitch my tent on their property. And I was laying in my tent, experiencing this, and this is when I wrote this, not long after that. The melodic chirp of cricket sound, sister moon, my heavenly guide. For off to dreamland I am bound, where no earthly presence will confide. Sleep fills these dreary eyes, deep breathing renews my soul. Spirit lifts me up on high, to a place where I am whole. The call of Father Owl expands my mind, filling it with great wisdom. There it is matched in like kind with all the glory of the kingdom. Messages from Great Spirit I've received, Brother Hawk's work finally complete. For its expansiveness I could not conceive. My heart slowly pounds the beat. The cool night air gently caresses my face, soft fluttering of angels' wings, reaching out from dimensional space. My heart humbly rejoices and sings. Mother Earth engulfs me in her arms, the heavens a blanket above me. A billion points of light sparkle with charm. The presence of the infinite weighs upon me. Thank
I'm just going to say a couple of words. When he told me don't go away because we're going to let people ask you questions, but I was thinking about it, what he was going to speak about. So I was thinking about what's the difference between awareness and consciousness. We say we're becoming aware. And what I think is, it's first thing that we get is, and you said it, it's that knowledge. We get a quest to ask questions. We see that in children, don't we? That they begin to ask questions. It says knowledge is power. We've always heard that. And the Bible says this, Scripture says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. So it's when knowledge is our starting point of the revolution that really happens in our life. We start questioning. We begin to be, knowledge takes us to awareness. We can see what's going on in our world. That's being aware. We can see that there's wars going on. We can see. But consciousness takes us to a higher dimension, and we look at it beyond the senses. And that's really consciousness. When we can see things beyond the senses, we can become aware. Knowledge leads us to awareness. I remember when I became aware that the church didn't have everything I needed. I became aware there had to be something more. So it was that knowledge when I was studying, I became aware that I needed more. So that awareness took me to consciousness, which I began to see my life beyond the senses, beyond the visible, and I could see that we were really here to experience. And what you said is so true. I've always said, and I've read, and ancient philosophers say, you can't know God. You have to be God. We're here to experience those things that lead us on. This is an experiential planet. And so every single one of us is here to really begin experiencing those things. So when you're experiencing those deep hurts, those high points of bliss, whatever it is, you're really experiencing it as the divine. And that's the thing that is really helping you become conscious. Because you begin looking past what's happening to you in this matrix. And you see that everything in the universe has a purpose. Every single thing that's happening in our life right now has a purpose. So nothing happens without a bigger purpose. We're seeing even the little things, and I love Reba, I'm so good about this, and Miles too, I know they talk about it. If there's a spider outside, they say, what's the purpose? Or if there's a bird in her, where her car is, whatever it is. I remember when I got my shoes sprayed, when I went into Walmart around Christmas time, and I was going for silver paint. And I had my black shoes on that I love, my black heels, they were velvet and everything. I got it. I reached for the silver can of paint, and the gold can of paint falls down and sprays all over my black shoes.
Oh, no.
And then I'm looking for help. I couldn't find any help in the, I'm thinking, somebody help me. There's got to be a paper towel or something that I can wipe this, silver paint off my black shoes. So the girl tells me there's a little tiny stool, and she said, well, just sit down on that stool. Finally, when I found it, I'll go find some paper. And I said, I'm not going to sit down. I had a dress on. I thought, I'm not going to sit down on that stool. So there was a higher stool. And I sat on the higher stool. So I was talking to Reba about it. And Reba said, well, I was aware that something was happening. But consciousness told me the path that I was on, I was looking for the silver. But Spirit was handing me the gold. And that's the walk I was going to be on. And I didn't have to stay on that small stool, but I could elevate as I became conscious to see, all the symbolic language in my life that I was being raised up. So sometimes we reach for the silver, but Spirit has the gold for us. So when we begin to see that symbolic language of Spirit, everything begins to change. So you can make a better decision when you're aware, but you make the best decision when you're conscious. And that's when we really turn that corner and know that we're not making it by what we're seeing with our eyes, but we're making it from that higher consciousness. And what you said of the tree, I can remember being a child too. And it's like I've always used the parade. When you're standing right in front of the parade, you just see what's going on. But if you go to the top of the building, you see the beginning and the end, and I think that's consciousness. We see that the end and the beginning is exactly the same. It's really becoming aware who we are, our real divinity. Miles, I just wanted, would you like to expand on this at all for a minute or two, or?
No.
No? I just didn't know if you had anything to add. I think we did. Is there anybody that would like to say anything? And we'll come right up here. Anybody want to ask Dr. Bill a question or add? Yes.
I'd like to share.
Come right up here.
Thank you.
These are just real short questions because we're filming, so.
I'd just like to share a little bit.
Okay.
Because when I feel like sometimes I'm spiritual and I do the right things, I do the things that I like to help others and things like that, I was trying to do the best. But when I get to be conscious what is happening in my heart, in the environment I am, and the people, and I get to connect more directly about the feelings I have and the experience that I have. And then I feel like the consciousness that you're saying about is very important to develop the spiritual life.
Yeah, beautiful.
I really appreciate this talk. Thank you.
Right. That's what we're here developing. Anybody want to ask Dr. Bill any questions? Paul, you want to come up?
It wasn't a question I had in my mind, but I've just been thinking about this difference between consciousness and awareness.
Mhm.
And I think the awareness, trying to get it into my head, right? I think the awareness is intellectual and consciousness is experiential.
Certainly. Yeah, I mean, I'm the intellectual scientist. I was that before. I think I needed to be that first.
Yes.
And actually not, like Greg Brayton you mentioned.
Right.
There's other, Bruce Lipton and another. There's other scientists that have expanded their knowledge or whatever. Actually, if you talk to any physics professor, whatever, they're out there, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they really are.
Beautiful. I think that's a great point. Awareness is intellectual. We can see, if we look at the world, we're aware that things aren't perfect in the world, but they're happening. But then when we raise the consciousness, we know that there is a perfection, even in the things that we don't see with the senses as perfection, we can see the perfection in those things. So that's the experience. We're not getting hard facts about consciousness. We're really looking at it from a higher dimension. Judy?
I don't want to stand up. But I feel the whole thing is being in the moment. So
Being in the moment.
being in the moment is being aware, because you're always conscious.
Right.
You're conscious maybe 7% of your brain, but you're conscious of your awareness, but
No, I think you're always aware. I don't think you're always
aware.
conscious. I think you're always aware. I don't know.
Being in the moment's the key, whether you call
Right.
it whatever you call
Right.
it. I walked into a restaurant yesterday and I was consciously aware, so I'm taking both of those words together.
Okay.
And I'm consciously aware of the spiritual beings in that room.
Beautiful.
And I told my nephew, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. And I went around, I talked to all of them. There were yoga teachers,
Wow.
everybody I picked, I knew everybody by looking at them.
Awesome, Juice.
So,
You had a big
I'm
day.
consciously aware.
Yeah.
I don't know what you want to call it.
Well, you were conscious.
But,
You were
yeah.
conscious because you were seeing. You were aware, but you were always also conscious of something beyond, what the senses would have. You want to come, Dave, and you want to?
No, I just have a question for the doctor.
Okay. Go ahead.
Are you being led to leave and go to live in Mexico? Or are you living in Mexico now? I do not.
No, I'm still living here. It's through my business. I developed nutritional supplements about almost 20 years, and I haven't been doing that recently. I've been teaching, as Mary Lou mentioned, at USF or whatever, teaching chemistry. This has been kind of like these last 5 years, in fact, this last 5 years when I moved here to Florida, I had reasons to move here, but Miles was, that's when I became part of the GTS group or whatever, and started getting connected here. This was kind of like a stopping off point to what I envisioned more than 10 years ago. And, you know, I actually, let me read what my message is today because it kind of fit with that. It says, I radiate confidence and optimism and have the power to live my dreams.
Beautiful.
So
And there, where you're embarking on.
that's what I'm embarking on. This is a dream. So don't put a time frame on the things that you're on your path or whatever. That would be using the physical senses to do it because time isn't linear.
Right, which
Okay.
Miles spoke about last week so
Did he?
beautifully,
Okay.
right?
So I'm going there as the next part of the journey of my life, which is bringing healing to the world, which has always been my purpose. I've already been there and developed products that actually heal people. Now I'm going there to work with a doctor. It's quite complicated how it all comes together. In fact, you can't wrap your mind around how all those pieces come together to do something so big. You guys are all going to hear about it one day. Everyone is going to know about it. You're going to remember this day when we stand here and talk about it.
Congratulations, you're manifesting.
And when you manifest right, I don't believe there's any defined, it's not like you're pre-wired or hardwired for a destiny of you're stuck to. You create your own destiny.
Moment by moment.
Moment by moment,
Yeah,
yeah.
Miles said that last week so beautifully too. It's like pages, we can pick up a different page
See how
any moment. Yeah.
it-
Anybody else have a question for Dr. Bill or something they'd like to add?
What place in Mexico she's going to?
What place in Mexico are you going to?
Morelia, which you don't even probably know where it is. It's in central Mexico. It's between Mexico City and Guadalajara. It's up in the mountains. You know where it is?
They know.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
I lived in Mexico 15 years.
Okay.
Beautiful. Nobody else? Yes.
Is there
Correct.
a way we can follow your path? Do you have a website or something, or with
Not yet.
email, or?
Yeah. What we can do, what I've been doing with my students at the university, with those that want to continue to follow the path here, is they can send me their contact information. I have a list that I'm creating, and then once I kind of launch that social media of everything, then you can be connected with all that.
And we could put out a paper today if you want to put your email on it, and I
Yeah,
can
if you
give
wanna
it to
do that,
Dr. Bill,
if
and
you-
he can add you to his list.
Yeah, I can do it. If you just
So
give me your
anybody
full
wants to
name, your email
follow.
address, I'll add you to my list. I got a spreadsheet. And then when we launch that in
Yeah.
a big way,
Yeah.
but it's just so much. It's not just what I'm going to be doing. There's other companies involved in the bigger picture. It's actually a huge foundation that's being formed. It's called the Because Foundation. You're hearing about it now. And because. So when somebody asks you why are you doing this, because that implies it's the right thing to do.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Anybody else have anything else they want to add or?
Which, by the way, is also the definitive answer to the child who asks why.
Because.
Yeah, because. Well, I tell you, it was great. And we are all on that same path of enlightenment, realizing that everything is inside of us and that we really are here as an experience. I mean, really to experience these feelings. You know, we want to push all those feelings away, but we're really here to experience those feelings, to, you know, integrate them and really be able to rise above them into consciousness and see why they're happening in our lives. And I think that's what you were really saying today with, and I love the books that you're reading. I read those years ago, and those are great books. So we just appreciate everybody being here, and anything else you want to close with, or we'll just keep up with you and as you move to Mexico and.
Yeah, I would invite everyone to keep up with me because there's part of a bigger picture that you may be connected with in some way. I don't know what that is. That's my message. So you want to connect.
Well, just
on that.
being here, we know we're going to be connected
Yes,
with you.
you are.
I mean, there's no,
I'll keep in touch with you
yeah,
for sure.
yeah. There's no coincidence in the universe. We know the
No.
universe is right on time, so there's really a beautiful reason you're here.